by way of introduction, Tyler Henry is an entrepreneur, A&R and manager for PartyNextDoor and Wondagurl, and has been a key figure in the OVO sound camp. As a manager, you've navigated the challenges of this industry, coming out on top and shaping the vision and global reach of some of R&B's and the wider genre's most influential artists. And I was actually looking back to when we first tapped in, because I was like, man, I actually like, you know how you go back through the DMs and you're like, okay, when did we connect? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was in maybe 2019, 2020 when we connected on IG about a PartyNextDoor cover for our New Zealand magazine, right?
Yeah, I think it was around the Party Mobile album.
It was.
So that would have been early 2020, yeah.
And honestly, I think like one thing I wanted to say is props to you for making that connection, because there's a lot of managers I feel who get insular into the US or insular into Europe or whatever, and they don't look at these other markets and go like, what are we call them hamster markets. Like New Zealand, we know we're hamsters, you know, where people can try things, they can do things, they can see how things bubble. So I wanted, I just wanted to say I appreciate you, bro. I know that on paper, maybe at the time, like that wasn't like a huge look, but you know, we ran it straight, and it's cool that we built this relationship from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Australia, so I'm never going to call it a hamster market, but I love my people.
Let's call New Zealand the hamster market.
We'll call New Zealand. Sorry, New Zealand, but
Australia, you ain't no hamster. You're a cheetah.
Both great places.
Yeah, cool. So, when did you first fall in love with music, bro?
Man, so I didn't grow up that connected to it. My dad's a musician, little brother's a musician, my grandma was a singer, so it was around me, but nothing really drew me to it in any sort of way than your average listener and consumer of music. And it was the summer before going to college, so it was 2010. I was actually visiting someone in Texas, and I thought I was going to go to school at University of Texas. And I'm watching this documentary, and I was a quiet, shy kid growing up. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I felt like there was something untapped in me that I was trying to figure out. So I worked really hard, and I applied myself to everything I did. Nothing came natural. I was always sort of grounded in like hard work and working my way through it. And I'm in Texas visiting the school. I'm about to go to UT in Austin.
What were you going to study?
Engineering. So this is how this all happened. I was going to go there and study engineering, and it's #1 engineering school in the country. Safest sort of job. Like the world will always need engineers until robots take over.
Mom and dad are like, awesome, an engineer.
They're so happy. Yeah. All right, perfect. We did our job. And I'm watching this documentary, and it's a Drake doc, believe it or not. And he's getting ready to put out his first real album. On the screen, all these people came up, and it, you know, Jamil Davis, tour manager, Cortez Bryant, manager. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then 40 comes on, and it says sound engineer and producer. Yeah. And I just like immediately I was like, what's a sound engineer? And I look it up, and I ask my dad, and he explains what an engineer does. And I'm like, wait, I'm going to school to be an engineer. Completely different. Like
no way.
Civil and structural engineering. So like building sewer lines and railroads and bridges. And I thought somehow this like, you know, music engineering position had some correlation. And I spent that whole summer working on being an engineer. I met a guy who was teaching free classes at the Boys and Girls Club, started producing. And I just had this moment of like, I cannot go to Texas. I got to be in LA or New York and do music. And so I just sort of like pivoted on a dime. Everyone in the family was pretty upset at me.
11th hour?
Yeah, and just took everything. But it was weird, the weirdest thing, because there was nothing that I could have written on paper of why I was deciding this or why it made sense. But, you know, some higher power was calling me into it. And
it's your gut.
It was just, it was the gut. It was this feeling that I had to do it. And so I moved to LA, and I ended up going to USC. And that's like really when I started getting into management. With
management, so you there was the engineering side, the music side. Was management intentional for you, or was it a natural evolution for you by being around people in music, by being around, you know, these different scenes and people that you connected with? Is that how did that eventuate? What was your evolution?
It was exactly that. I started as an engineer and producer. I found a few artists, was working with them. And, you know, I always say, so many people ask me like, you know, or they'll come to me, say they want to get into music. And I'm like, what do you want to do in music? And they don't know. And which is fine. Find your starting place. But the greatest gift that we could figure out for ourselves is you find what industry you love, right? It could be music, sports, gaming, medicine, whatever it is. You find an industry you love, and then you find what in that industry you have the ability to be great at, because we do not all have the ability to be great at anything. And I think it's a common misconception that we all believe if we just try really hard, we can do anything in the world, which like maybe there's some truth to it, but I think overall I don't agree with that statement, because there's certain things that based upon how we grew up, what things we learned, how we react to things,
how our brain works,
what skill sets we have that develop us to be greater at certain things. And I don't think enough people think of it that way. They just think, oh, if I work really hard, I could do anything. But like, I'm not a great singer, so it doesn't matter if I write songs every day, I'll never be a great singer. And so, and I grew up in a music family, so I know what good singing is. And so instead of me wasting my time trying to make it in something that's a lot harder, right? I'm 6 feet tall. It's a lot harder for me to be in the NBA than someone that's 6'6" and can jump twice as high as me. And so I think life is about and finding what you love to do and what you can be great at. It's about finding that combination of first, what's an industry I love? And then second, what can I be great at in that industry? And so I started to be around all these managers and people on the business side, and I just fell in love with it. And I knew it was right for me. I knew I was an organized person. I knew I was reliable. I knew
creative.
I would work my butt off on everything I did. I knew I was creative. And I was always someone that was really good at a mixture of things, but was never the best at one thing, right? And so I was like a good enough engineer and a good enough producer, but there was people better than me. I knew creative well, but there was better creative minds. I knew marketing well, but but I was good enough I was always like one of those people that was well-rounded and knew enough of all these different things to be in the room and speak the language. And then once you realize like, oh yeah, manager has to be a master of all these things. And then build those pieces as they grow. It just was the right fit. I knew it was for me.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You got to be one as a manager, man. You'll be getting pulled in every direction.
Yeah.
And you're right. You still rely on certain specialists in these areas, but you have to have a grasp on their world.
Yeah. I meet some people that are really creative young executives and like aren't organized if their life depended on it. And I'm like, manager's going to be tough. You have to be the single most organized and on top of your shit person out there. And you're just always going to be behind and you're going to be missing things and you're not going to be reliable. Like find something else. Maybe it's more on the A&R side if you like to be creative and like to be at the studio and it's more, and it's more about that building process. Like maybe it's you as an A&R or as a creative director. And so it's like, that's the great thing is there's so many different positions in it that all equate to a successful artist in a project, and you just have to find what fits best for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tell me about your early days with OVO. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Party was the first act signed there.
Yeah, it was Party and Maja Jordan, got signed around the same time. But I actually wasn't a part of Party's signing.
Oh wow.
And so I was working with the OVO team previously.
But in a different capacity. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. It was on the touring side and sort of like the operations and movement side. So I worked with Jamil for about a year on that. And so we toured with them and Can you explain for someone that doesn't have a manager, let alone a tour manager and production manager, like that tour management role? Yeah.
What is that?
So the way his team worked is there was two sort of sets of like the touring team. There was the operation side, which was actually like building the stage and make sure the production works and clearing trucks to enter areas and all the logistics that go into like physically a tour working. There was that team and that was run by someone. And then Jamil and I were on the sort of personal movement and operation side of it. And so we would work with Drake and the OVO team on all the movement-based stuff, all the, there's hundreds of people coming per night that he's inviting, the label's inviting, management's inviting. And so we're essentially like the liaison directly for like what you call the A party, which is the artists and their whole team and their experience on being on the road.
So on a Drake tour, you're a direct extension of that person when you're encountering, whether it be their best friend, one of their family members.
If their mom comes to a show, making sure they get in, taking care of them. Yeah. So it's really personal job, and you get to meet a lot of people doing it, which is like, I was 20 doing that. So it's it was the best early experience being out there.
And comparing that tour management with what you're saying is like being an extension of your artist. One thing that I have always told artists who are looking for a manager, I've been like, hey, you need to find someone who is like an extension of you, that you know is going to walk into these rooms either with you or without you and be that extension. Like, how important has that been to you in your career with the artists that you've worked with?
It's super. I was always, I always said, like, I'll be the most put together, responsible person in a room with my artists at all times. Like, if we're out on the road and there's a party and we're at a club, that's not for me. That's not my time to enjoy myself, to have a drink, to do any of that. If we are, whatever we're doing, like if the artist is around, I'm there for work. And that was like my core foundation early on, is that it's easy to get mixed into all the fun that come with it. Late nights, partying, you're out with friends, you're traveling the world. It's really easy to get mixed in that and forget it's a job, because for most people, that's pleasure, right? Going to a club till 2 a.m., that's what you do for fun. When for us, it's work. And so it's really easy to blur those lines. And so I was so cognizant of that early on, of just, I'm here to do a job and to be the most counted on person in the room. I want to make sure the artist always feels that way about me. So that was so key.
I think it's a common misconception of management. Yeah. People are, like, oh man, I'm going to get into it and I'm going to be able to, be partying all the time and rolling up in the studio and just being, it's almost like sometimes you feel like the manager's almost an artist themselves.
And something I see a lot of now is is young artists want a manager that's more their friend and can be around them at all times. And that becomes a huge qualification for them, when it's like, no, this person works for you and they receive a good amount for working for you. And so, yes, maybe there's an element of like, you want to like spend time with this person, because you will, but you got to know the difference of, this is work and there will be personal elements of it, but I need someone to do the job best. That needs to be the first and foremost, not someone who's a fun hang and
looks good on a fit check with you.
Yeah, correct. And so, Party and I were interesting because there was a lot of teams work with, there's sort of there's a manager that's been around for a long time, and there's a day-to-day. And so the day-to-day moves with them every day and is there on call 24/7. And if the artist moves, they move. And then you'll have another manager that's, actually more of the manager doing the business of it all. That's more stationed, right? That gets to be more present to make sure emails and calls and the business is all running smoothly. Party and I, it was, it happens with a lot of young artists, is I was both roles. And so you need to be out with them late, but then you also need to be up at calls at 8 a.m. And so it can be hard to balance. And if you're a young manager and you have some success with an early artist, you really have to look and say, like, does it make sense for me to bring in someone that has experience, that can be a little more stationed, for us to be on the ground building this and then can reevaluate it.
What drew you initially to that party project?
Shoot, when I first met him?
Yeah. Like, what drew you guys together to now being the team that you are and working together?
Yes. So when I was just starting with OVO and the Drake team, that was right when they were starting the label, and I was seeing it formulate in real life. I'd met Maj and Jordan previously to them releasing their first mixtape. I'd met Party previously to him releasing his first, and I saw it all coming together, and I knew I wanted to be a manager. And I was grateful and loved the experience that I was in the role then. But the goal was always to run a team myself. And originally thought I would bring my own artists to eventually get signed to the label. And then seeing these two amazing young artists starting to build and develop, I just wanted to get involved. So I'd help out. I loved everything Party was doing. And after he dropped his second mixtape, he was planning his first tour. I began helping with that, and it just all came together. I got asked to go on that tour the day before it happened. And
how long was that tour?
It was pretty quick, like 3 or 4 weeks.
But still, you had to pack the suitcase. You had to be ready to move.
Yeah, it was literally overnight. And by the end of it, he asked me to be his manager and to join him full time, because I still wasn't working with him at the moment. I was still technically on like the OVO Drake side of things, and so at that moment, he asked me to start full time with him.
He saw how you maneuvered.
Exactly. Yeah. He saw me just take something that was unorganized and not going well and sort of like create some structure in the chaos of it all and do a job out there.
It's cool, man.
Yeah.
Testament to you, bro.
Be ready when the time comes. You know, it's like if you haven't found your into the industry yet, man, learn everything you can. Know who every manager is, know who every A&R is, know all the labels, know how things move and shake, know who books each festival, know the difference of each PRO, know what a mechanical royalty is, know the publishers and who runs them. Like, that's everything that I just listed is available online, plus so much more.
Especially with AI now.
Especially with AI now.
Asking questions. We couldn't do that when we...
We set that you read an article before you had to go read a book.
Or call a mentor.
Now you get a whole summary in 2 seconds. Know how the different streamers pay out, right? Know the difference of Spotify freemium versus premium. Know how much Apple pays out. Know how much YouTube pays. Like, know these things. So when that moment comes, whether you discover an artist, your artist breaks, you get called into a team, you're ready and prepared, and they don't have to educate you. It's like I did all the basic stuff I can do that was available online, plus some, so that when that moment came with Party, it was like, I already know what these things are. And so I like couldn't encourage that more. It's like, if you come to me, and this happens all the time. My assistants always laugh at it because like someone will reach out, USC student, for example. Hey, I saw you went to USC. I want to get into music. Can I come sit with you? And they come and they say, I want to be a manager, an A&R, and I'll ask them questions. And it's like, you don't even know the most basic shit. And it pisses me off because my time's valuable and I'm happy to lend it to people because not a lot of people lent it to me early on. So I'm happy to lend it to people, but do the fucking work. Know who this manager is, know what this label is, know these things because it fucking matters. And it shouldn't be my job to teach you what you can Google. And so if you're a young entrepreneur, manager, A&R, or whatever it is trying to get into the industry, like, know your shit.
If you're DM sliding to this
know
guy's
your shit, 'cause
DM,
I will
start
test
it with,
you.
I have done my homework.
I will test you and I will end the meeting early if I know you're in there wasting my time. I'm serious, you know.
And if they know their shit, the door's open.
I've had meetings with a young college kid that have gone hours because I love their energy and I could see they want it. And some of them end up working with me. My chief of staff now was a 19-year-old that cold emailed me. We went for lunch and it was like a 2-hour lunch and he's now running my team,
Dope.
3-4 years later. And it's like, that's energy, but he knew his shit going into it. He knew he was well educated and prepared, and we're doing awesome things together now. So,
cool. Yeah. Now on that point, it's funny because I did this too when I first started out in music management, and we'll fact check it, but I read that you started a spreadsheet of managers, contacts, artist contacts, labels, and you literally kept tabs on that and figured out what this world and what the orbit of the music industry was. Tell me more about why that was important to you.
Each name had notes, and next to them would be the most random stuff. Like I knew Wiz Khalifa's favorite alcohol was gin, and he liked Sour Patch Kids, for example. Because I was like, if I, for whatever reason, am in the studio with Wiz,
you probably wouldn't guess gin, would you?
I'm coming with gin and sour. It may be different. This was like 15 years ago. I'm coming with gin and Sour Patch Kids to be like, let's get the vibe right. Let's go.
Cool.
I knew where people started at. I knew what places they worked at. I knew who were their assistants. I knew what teams they were a part of, what artists they worked on. And it was important because if I'm at a show and I see, use any random art. Let's say you're new coming into this and you're a fan of, like, let's say Yeet. Shout out to Zach Bia. But let's say you're a fan of Yeet, right? And you're at a Yeet show and X person's the A&R. You could just be standing at the back of the room or going to the bathroom or at the merch line or doing something and run into them. And if you want to get into the business, that's another shot on target. You may not hit the shot, but it's all about hitting as many shots on target as possible. And it just increases those odds that one of those A&Rs or managers that no one recognized except you gives you an opportunity and goes, yeah, come by the office. Let's meet for lunch. Or send me your resume out. I could use some help right now. And you just have to do those, because I did 40, 50 of those before one actually hit. I'd go to every show, meet the manager, meet the A&R, meet the assistants. Hey, do you guys need any interns? Can I help with anything? Any new projects you're developing I could work on? no, not right now, but thank you. Not right now, but thank you. And then eventually it all clicks. And it clicked with Cortez Bryant. I knew who he was. I knew he managed Wayne and Drake and all these people at the time. And he was developing Hit Boy at the time. This was in 2012. I went to Hit Boy's first show in the Inland Empire, all of 200 people. And guess what? Cortez is sitting at the back. I go and talk to him. And that was the first spark that got me into the Drake and OVO camp, was Cortez co-signing me from going up to him at the show and just telling him who I was. And I even asked for anything then. I just said, I'm a student at USC. I'm trying to get into music. I've watched and studied your career, and I respect it. And I hope we can work together one day. He's like, man, that's really cool. Thanks. Run into him 8 months again later. And he was like, yo, you're that kid from USC. And he co-signed me to start getting into the next room. And so like, it's that moment of, again, most of the research you do won't apply.
Yeah.
But that one thing will connect, and it's that shot on target that can change your life.
In a nutshell, luck is where opportunity and preparation meet. Yeah,
exactly. If you're an A&R, if you want to get into A&R, know who produced every album that's been successful the last 5-10 years. And you start to see dots. You go, okay, cool. Benny Blanco works with these people, and he developed Blake Slatkin, and Blake's the next big, young, great pop songwriter and producer. It's like, wow, okay, let me see what he's working on. Or it's like, oh, this person came from Dr. Loop's camp and they're now doing this. Cool. I'm seeing the history of literally the last 20 years of great produced projects and what's coming from it and how that all happens. And so just, this is your life and job. Like, do the research.
I think there's a good point when people ask me as artists or managers how to get into the industry or to take their next step. I'm often like, what do you do to give back to the community that you're in? Because like at the end of the day, we're a scene, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't mean scene as in like sceney, but it's like a music scene, a music community. And I think what you're saying is you were educating yourself on the community at a younger age. Yeah. And you were going and being part of the community, and you were being at the shows and in the rooms and going and building relationships. And I think too often people go, I want to get into the industry, but it's like, well, what are you, it's great that you want something from the industry, but like, what are you doing to give to that industry? Yeah.
I knew I was going to work harder than anyone, and it was why I would offer my services without asking for anything in return. It was just like, if you need help, I'm here. That's it. If you need this, I'm here. If you need someone to drive your artist to the studio, I'm down to do it. But I was willing to take it to extremes of like, I just want to get involved with the right teams. And so I was like offered myself as a resource, but you just got to be willing to get involved and know that like there's no one linear way in. Doesn't matter what school you went to. People really don't care what school you went to, how old you are, any of that. They just want someone they know is going to work really hard, because it's a difficult job. And like at the end of the day, it's hard to be a part of a team without having a lot of access. And so people are really protective of that, and they have to know you're in it for the right reasons.
What does it take to manage a creative like Party, someone who is private but at the same time so incredibly influential in what they do?
Yeah, that was I remember a really early meeting we had, and I encourage this for any young manager or A&R out there. When you sign an artist or you're trying to sign someone, ask them their definition of success, because it shouldn't be yours. And success isn't always rooted in, I guess, like public, how do I want to say it? Success isn't always rooted in public acknowledgement or like fame, right? So when Party and I got together early, he was really clear of like, I want to live a normal life. Like, I know I do music and I know I want to do it at a high level, but like, I'm not doing this to be the most famous person on the planet. Like, I'm doing this because I'm an artist and I love to make music, and I want to produce at the highest level. Cool. Now we can shape a career around that people aren't a fan of him because of his personality. They're a fan of him because his music and his art and what he contributes as an artist. Right. And so you start to see like the difference of like, Party doesn't need a post online. It's not like people don't follow him because he's an influencer or because he does, for those reasons. They follow him because they live and die for his music, and he's a great artist. And so we were really careful shaping it. It's why he doesn't do a lot of interviews, because it's like, I'll do it when the time's right and we'll have something to say. Otherwise, like, I'm just filling up fluff. Like, there's no point to do this. It's why he said no to almost everything in that space, because Those are more personality pieces than like understanding and contextualizing the art. And you have to know the difference of the two. And so we really early defined success and what that was. And it's like, I'm now in, you know, our company now works with hundreds of artists. So I know what the businesses of these artists look like. The way Party's developed his career as an artist, writer, and producer, as a publisher, he signed people. He's doing laps around most people when it comes to financially, but you just wouldn't think it because he's a private guy, and that's fine. And so it's like he wanted to support himself. He wanted creative freedom as an artist, and he wanted people that loved him for his music. And so we defined that pretty early on.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't do in business, full stop. Like, whether they are an artist that goes and sits down with an A&R that's hit their line and being like, hey, I really fuck with your music, I want to sign you.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the most important questions in those meetings, and I have to constantly remind myself to ask them, is what does success look like for you? Because if you can figure that out and know that you're both on the same page, it saves you getting to, you know, the end of the first year of your deal or the second or the third, or even the conclusion of your deal and going, well, I thought this went great.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and we're not repartnering again. And like, I would give anything to repartner with this person, but their version of success and my version of success weren't aligned.
Yeah, and you just have to know what works for you and your management style, right? So like for me, I think I work better with purely creative people and helping to get that through and not doing so much of the like glitz and glamour of entertainment. I think I work better with like helping artists create a safe space to build and to work and to express themselves and helping get that to the world than like making you famous for the sake of being famous. That's not really my thing. And so it's just now when I meet an artist and I ask them based on their answer, I can say if I'm right or wrong. There's so many artists where I walked away from or helped them find another team because I was just like, you're great and you're talented. I just don't think it's the right fit for me. And I would rather us just have a good friendship and a good relationship, and I could support from that side because every opportunity is not meant to be taken. And that's really important. And you have to sometimes learn it the hard way, but like you'll get millions of opportunities in this life. And part of living your own destiny of fulfillment is in understanding like which ones you want to take and which ones you don't.
So for young artists, I think you've spilled so much knowledge here, especially around the management side. So flip it for a second to the artist.
Yeah.
When is the right time for an artist to get a manager, and what should they be looking for? And maybe the last part is really what we focus on here.
I would say 9 times out of 10, they should get a manager when things are really starting to connect. When you can really feel a fan base is building, when you can feel like people are paying attention and reaching out to you, then I think it's time, because a lot of times I meet young artists that get a manager really early, and especially when you get one that has access and relationships and previous success, they expect them to do the work that they're supposed to be doing as the artist. They just expect, oh, you're going to get all the playlists and you're going to open all the doors, and like all of a sudden I'm going to get all these followers and play all the big festivals, and they just expect you to do all these things instead of just doing the work themselves. And you sort of get complacent and you sort of sit back a little bit more going like, cool, I don't need to work as hard because I have this great manager on my team. And so 9 times out of 10, I tell young artists, like, do the work. Wait to get a manager until it's like too much for you to do, truly.
Got you.
And then get a manager that can help optimize it all. And again, pick based on someone that you feel like will do a good job, not just hang with you every day. You could pay a lot of people to hang with you every day.
Or not even pay them.
Or not pay them. But the wrong manager will derail your career. And I can't get that through enough. Like I see it time after time after time. And so like be so careful and I'll do the hard work yourself early on.
Are there any books you recommend that have been beneficial for you on this journey in management?
Yeah. I read one Scooter recommended early called The Operator. And it's a book on David Geffen's story, who's like arguably the greatest entertainment executive of all time. I've never met him, but he founded 2 very successful labels. He managed some of the biggest artists in the world. He started DreamWorks Pictures, which made some of the best movies ever. He produced the highest selling musical of all time. I think it still is, Cats, and like a couple other big ones, and it was like one of the biggest Broadway producers ever. There's so much more I'm forgetting, but this book is essentially telling the story of him, talking to the people that worked with him. What was he like? What did he do? How did he operate? as being probably the most successful multi-division entertainment operator ever. And so it was really cool. That book really made me go like, oh, this is more than management. I'm an entrepreneur. There's different companies and businesses I want to build. I love what I do and the work I do with artists, but there's a lot more I want to do and achieve. The goal is I want to build things that in sort of come around and do help the artists I work with and future ones. But that book expanded my mind to say like, oh, you don't have to just be one thing. And it goes to artists too, right? If you're an artist, you don't have to just be a singer or a rapper or a producer. It's like, write a TV show. You see what someone like Little Dicky has done, where it's like have success as a music artist and then have a really successful TV show is so cool. It's like don't be limited to just one thing. Challenge yourself. It's fun. You learn a lot through those new things.
Well, that book is the proof is in the pudding. Sturdy, right? You guys are a creative agency and much more. And obviously you do what you do in artist management. I'm very aware of what you do on a publishing side, which I don't know if we'll have time to get into today, but on a Sturdy side, creative house, digital agency, doing amazing things, work for Bad Bunny, Linkin Park, Black, many more. What are some of your favorite and most rewarding moments from working in that other side of your operator mode? Yeah,
we had the privilege of working on with Bad Bunny, and we worked on his Coachella headline show.
Crazy.
And my co-founder is one of my best friends from high school. And
who's that?
His name's Adrian Martinez. So he's co-founder, head of creative. The company's his creative visual mind. And we built the company because of an idea him and I had at Coachella 2018 of just walking around and saying, you know what, there's not a company in a home that looks after visual creative artists the same way you look after the artists you work with. And we're such an important part of storytelling. We're what, they make the music they listen to, and we make the visuals they see and experience. And that goes to live shows, merch, album covers, everything. And so he wanted to build a company that essentially had the quality to match that, but also would sort of position themselves so that the industry respected them as equals with producers and other people that are involved. And we're at Coachella, I think it's 2023. And we sat there and watched the first Spanish-speaking headliner at Coachella. We grew up going to the festival. So I've been there since I was 12.
Wow.
His parents are immigrants from Mexico. And to see him create, the first Spanish-speaking artist with his family sitting there is just like, that's why we do it. This is the coolest thing ever to like transcend so many boundaries and obstacles. Being two kids from this small town to where we got and then what we built together is just the coolest thing. It's a pinch me moment for sure.
Yeah, insane. And that show was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm lucky. I work with my brothers. I work with my best friends.
Damn.
Which like everyone's like, how'd you do that? And I don't know if I just got lucky and just around some really awesome, talented people. But while one hand, it's true to an extent, but on the other hand, Adrian studied sports journalism in college.
Wow.
And when he went to college, he went to Arizona, left, and then was a baseball journalist in Orange County. The newspaper went under, he got fired, and he came to me with a camera being like, I always want to shoot some photos. Can I shoot Party? And that started, one of the greatest creative directors and show designers in music right now, 10 years later. And so it's like,
not too late to pivot.
It's not too late. And I was really conscious about the environments I wanted to build and the people. I'm like, I put so much of myself in my work. How much better would it be to do it with people I love and want to spend time with? Because I'm spending a majority of my day in the best years of my life, my 20s and 30s doing it. Like I want to do it with people I love and want to see every day. And so I personally always try to push people around me and was really intentional in building that up.
I think your inception and your career has come from that live space you're working in. Obviously there was the engineering and producing, but like your first, correct me if I'm wrong, but your first break was on that live side.
Yeah.
And then you also now are working on things like, one of the biggest shows in America with one of the biggest headliners.
Yeah.
For a young artist watching, like how important is what they deliver live in the early infancy stages of their career?
Yeah. Just again, it goes to, I would say from like 2020 to 2022, so those 3 years, people were not feeling great about the creative offering of artists from the music industry. And I took some real time, and I was sort of tired of hearing people complain about it, of like, there's no great artist anymore, and we're in such a lull when it comes to creativity and originality. And I was looking back, and I'm like, yeah, you're just signing everything that goes viral online. Of course there's none. You will give an artist a $4 million deal before knowing they can play a show, which is crazy. It is crazy, nor are you taking the time to develop people to be fully well-rounded artists. And so I saw that as a huge opportunity, as me as like an executive, and then the businesses we were creating, to say, let's go really develop. Let's go in early. Let's make sure by the time an artist moment is broken online, they have hundreds, if not thousands of shows under their belt, so they're ready for the moment. Like there's so many artists where their first show is like a sold out 1,500 cap room, and they're just sitting up there like, what the heck do I do? And then the fans see it. They're not really into it. They're like, I just like the music and streaming it, and it's kind of it for them. And so it's just, it goes to everything. Like, be so prepared. I'll send it to you so you can link it to this interview. But there's someone sent me someone pieced together it's like an 8-minute documentary on Doechii.
Cool.
Who I think is just so relevant to the time right now. And is definitely one of my favorite artists. And it shows her from making content and performing when like 8 years ago, when she's like working at restaurants and trying everything to make it. Shows her almost giving up on it and all these things, eventually having that moment. So when it broke, it was like, oh, she was so prepared. She knew who she was as a brand. She knew what content she wanted to make. She knew the show she wanted to perform. She knew everything about her by the time it broke through. And so it's putting in that groundwork and really like defining your brand, your aesthetic, your sound, your image, how you want to portray yourself online, and then most importantly, the show, and getting as many reps as you can. So if you're a new artist out there, or your manager looking after new artists, put them anywhere. Open mics, karaoke bars,
like reps.
Anything. They should like literally anything and everything, so that when they touch that stage, it's comfortable to them. It's the only way.
I think it sounds so simple when you say it, but I think, I've worked with artists who we've been offered certain things as we're developing the live show, and we've had to say no to them because we don't feel that we're going to debut this artist after we've been developing them in the right way live. And I always say to them, I'm like, hey, I know it sounds so simple, but you'll only ever play your first show once.
Yeah. And do it when no one's paying attention. That's the best time to do it, when people are on their phones and not really looking and don't know your name. Like, make your mistakes there and do it all then.
Prepare yourself.
But think of any other profession or industry. Imagine going to play an NBA game without ever playing a basketball game.
You're going to get shin splints.
Imagine any of those things. You're going to get thrown off the freaking court. Like, imagine acting in a $100 million Hollywood huge movie next to Brad Pitt and you've never acted before. It's like you've never even done an acting class. It's like, I know we're in this beautiful time where songs and artists can break overnight, but like, don't forget to put in the work and love that part of it. You should want to develop yourself as a full artist. We through STURDY got to work with Rosalia as well, and it's just another artist that was like the master of her craft. First one in every rehearsal, last one to leave every rehearsal. First one in on editing sessions, last one to leave. Like, everything she did, and by the time she like broke through as an artist, she was so well versed and ready to go.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, you spoke about a lot of those relationships that you formed in the early days and putting time in. How important was the foundation that you built of being someone who was curious, being someone who was reliable, and networking with all those people? What does that look like now? Like, what do you feel that's... I know harvested is a weird word because your intentions would have been right and you wouldn't have been doing it for that reason. But how did that setting of that foundation with having integrity in your business, with being reliable, how did that set you up for the executive you are today?
I think everything, and growing up, I was a pretty shy and quiet person, like I said. And I always thought you had to be this loud personality to be successful and for people to pay attention. And I never tried to do it, but I always felt out of place thinking that. And then as soon as I realized, like, now my position in this is being the things you said: reliable, trustworthy, hardworking, thoughtful in everything I do. And that's what I want people to know me as, because that's who I am as a person. And if I can get to that truth of me, then like I think it'll all start to compile. If you are the person that is entertaining and fun and you know how to connect people and that's your thing, then like lean in on that. Like, but find those things that are true to you and natural. And that's what people will eventually like come to you for and know you as, and you can build your network and reputation off it.
How did you navigate the balance between friendship and business in the music industry?
Yeah, it's I mean, you know, throw in family too. I work with my brothers, right? And so
just make it complicated.
Yeah, throw in that. But I personally I do separate it. And you do realize there's always a risk of something crossing over, but as long as you lead with honesty, compassion, you know, if something comes up and it's a problem, speak it then and there. And try to understand where you're coming from when you approach someone on the other side, right? Like, you know, there's all these little tidbits. Like if you're delivering bad news, or like, see someone in person, don't text them, don't email them, right? Like
that's a massive one.
It's little things like that that'll go a long way. And it's just like, again, as long as you lead with love, compassion, honesty, openness, everyone understanding like this is a band, you know, we are a group of people that come together for a collective sound. We're a team. Like if you move together in that and no one person's more important than the next, you start to see everyone around you sort of buys into this, right? It's like, we're animals of habit, right? If you go back to our evolutionary time of when we were in tribes, it's like you want to fit in with your tribe. And if they see someone that's either at the top or close to the top or supposed to be a leader acting a certain way, you start to see it then change to how the group dynamic is, right? And if you yourself operate that way, you start to see other people want to move and be the same way. And you can create a really, really cool place that could be successful, get a lot of work done, but you have fun and you get to do it together, which is nothing more valuable.
What's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given in this industry from mentors or friends, or it could be developing arts, it could be anything? What's one of the best pieces of advice?
Do the hard work on yourself. And as an executive, you tend to make other people's dreams come true and take care of them first. And I've seen a lot of great people climb the highest of mountains and experience tough things that happen that make them rethink it all. Was it worth it? You know, what was too much? And do the hard work along the journey. Know who are your mentors you talk to. If therapy is your thing, get into that early. If, you know, I work with a life coach.
Awesome.
And I see her she's like a life and executive coach. I see her once a month. We do group meetings with my teams as well every quarter. And, you know, that's been probably the most like transcending work I've done. And I could see things that would have been a train crash in a few years were prevented because of the work we've done. So yeah, it's do the hard work, dig in deep, know who you are, take care of yourself. Like focus on yourself to be better outwards of what you do.
What about health and well-being? I know that's
so much. That's part of it, right? It's like if you focus on yourself and what you need to operate at your best and be the best version of yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually, you know, you'll show up so much better. You'll show up happier. You'll show up more motivated. You'll show up. And then that also rubs off on other people too. You start to notice, like you see your team taking care of themselves and care about it again. And so it's really infectious when you come into it with the right energy.
Are there any other things outside of the life coach and mentoring that you feel you've done and working on yourself and making sure that you as the kind of nucleus of your business that's giving energy out to other people has kept you like kind of on track? Yeah,
I know your boundaries. So for me, I don't take calls before 9 a.m. It has to be like really, really important. Lucian has to be calling or something for me to take a call at before 9 a.m. That's my time. 7 to 9, reading, I'm meditating, I'm going to the gym, not on my phone. That is my time. That phone's literally on do not disturb. You can't get through unless you're my mom. Like that is me time. And I know that. And I know that sets up my day so much better. And I love evenings too. I'm not a big dinner work person. Again, I try to limit those to one at most 2 a week, but like I love to be home after 6. I love to cook. And so it's like, understand the things that fill your tank back up because you
Yeah.
give so much, and it's really easy to just bury yourself in that. So do that. And then one more thing, there's a Japanese term for it, and I'm blanking on it. It's a saying that essentially says, create one big challenge for you a year.
Wow.
Something that you can't just do in a week, something you can't just like prepare over the weekend, something you have to train for, mentally prepare for, anything. And so I think it's cool to give yourself a challenge every year that is not work related, that is truly about you and your relationship with your success, you and your relationship with yourself, and prioritizing that and making time for it, and having something. So when you look back on your years, you're like, wow, I did that marathon. I climbed that mountain.
Was last year the marathon for you?
I did an Ironman. Yeah.
That's
I did
it.
an Ironman. I've done some marathons.
You did a full Ironman?
Did a full Ironman, yeah.
Man, I'm about to sign up for the half in December, and I'm like,
brutal.
I don't know. I need your swimming coach.
I have a really good one. I have a really good one. And she was like one of the best people ever in my life. So you'll love her. And so when you come up with one big goal for the year outside of work, you prioritizing yourself and giving yourself time and space. And, it's fun to look back on these things and be like, oh my God, I learned so much. Through my Ironman training, I found a nonprofit and raised enough money to build my first school in Africa. And I'm now on the board of this nonprofit.
Wow.
And that came from me saying, oh, doing an Ironman was always a goal of mine that seemed so far away. But I finally gave myself the permission to prioritize that side of my life.
You did a sleep out with that not-for-profit as well?
That's another one. Yeah. It's for the homeless youth here in LA. Yeah.
I've always admired that about you. I've seen obviously the work that you've done in the music industry and and what people have said about you, but also I think from a health and well-being side and a keeping things centered and focused. Like you and I have had many conversations about whether it be marathons or meditation or health and well-being. I challenge everyone, open your phone and it'll show you how much time you spend on every part of your phone per day and per week. And imagine 1 hour for other people extra a week. And just start with 1 hour for yourself. And that could be whatever. It could be a walk. It could be reading. It could be writing. It could be anything. And you start with there and you realize like there's so much time that I don't spend the way I want to in my life. And if I just restructure and shift a couple of things, a lot can change. I love that.
Yeah.
What advice? You've given a lot of advice today, which I've appreciated,
I got a lot of
man. It's incredible. Thank you. What advice would you give to Tyler, the 18-year-old, or maybe not even the 18-year-old? What advice would you give to Tyler? Don't put an age on it. Starting your career in the music industry, what would be the piece of advice you'd give yourself? And it may be different to the advice you've given everyone today based on your experience and your journey. But
yeah, I think it's pretty similar. I always struggle with this idea that you have to work to unhealthy levels to achieve success. Was always the thought of mine that when I really analyzed and read about some of the best entrepreneurs and builders and inventors in the world, it was always this like, they didn't sleep for 10 years or like they didn't have a relationship with their family or there's these extreme sacrifices. And I did a lot of that in my 20s. I didn't go out when I was in college. I skipped every spring break. I skipped most football games. Like I wasn't an active college student because I was just so focused on working. And by no means do I regret any of it, but I wish I would have told myself earlier, like, don't forget about yourself. If you just bury yourself in work and sort of like numb your mind to get through all this crap you have to get through, you will, you'll regret at some point and it won't be worth it. And so I wish I told myself that, like focus on myself more. And also sort of what I said earlier of like also within that part of finding someone to help you with your journey. It could be a guru, a therapist, psychologist, a mentor, a
family friend. It
can be whatever resource is available and is right fitting for you. There's no one that works for everyone. Find that early because the someone you trust that is wise and has gone through it to help guide you through decisions, to help call you out. Like the coach I work with, for the first 6 months, it was really bad. And we'd get into it. We'd walk out of sessions and she called me one day and she was like, hey, I don't think I can work with you anymore. Like I see all the potential in you, but like, I don't know if you want this and are ready for it, to like open yourself up and to shed some things in your life that you don't need, that you put in there to achieve this level of success and get here as a person. And she's like, I don't think you're ready for it. And a couple weeks went by, I came back crawling like a little baby and was just like, I'm ready for it. I'm open to hearing the things that I like fought before. And there's so much uncomfortable stuff.
Yeah.
Like one of the things she told me, she was like, do you know your team's afraid of you? And to hear that as someone that like tries to lead with love and compassion, putting themselves out, there's a hard thing to hear of like, I don't want to be a fear leader. I want to be a respected leader that is known for like, again, love and compassion, working hard, building new roads that people haven't been able to drive down yet, and helping guide people to their max potential as professionals and as people. And when you find out you're not doing what you like set out as your compass, it's a hard thing to hear.
Yeah.
Especially when no one challenges you on that. And so it's things like that. And the sooner you can find someone that you trust, that has the experience and education to help guide you, it's amazing once you open yourself up and you see the difference in work.
Well, dude, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Again, as a recap, like, you're a music executive, entrepreneur, manager, A&R, who I really respect.
Thank you.
And I've enjoyed the privilege of spending some good time with you over the years. And I was really excited to have you come on. I just knew that you would have some amazing things to share with some young artists, young managers, young A&Rs. So thank you. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Cool.